I had an experience with the Klan. They came to my house when I was little. But my mother, this is a strong woman, my mother, she went right to the door and opened it and gave them candy. And my mother used to tell me this thing, I don't even know if you remember, but you said this to me more than once. You said, son, sometimes you have to be a lion so you can be the lamb you really are.
This shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed. They committed less crimes.
Maybe they were afraid. I mean, 4,000 Black men, women, and children were killed in violent lynch mobs.
That's your explanation, but
racial terror permeated American culture for hundreds of years.
Black America is worse than it has been.
There are protests and vigils and prayers going up for a despicable, deplorable, detestable, loathsome white man. 21-year-old young black man was found lynched in his university campus.
Dave Chappelle is cutting deep again, calling out the wild hypocrisy behind America's reaction to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Nobody is saying we should celebrate a man's death, but the treatment Kirk received afterward was almost saint-like. His body flown on Air Force Two, flags lowered to half-mast, talk of him lying in state, even whispers of a statue in the Capitol and a Presidential Medal of Freedom. All that for a man who never even held public office. That's not just unusual, that's unprecedented.
Today at 5 p.m., I was fired from my job for posting a video saying I don't care about Charlie Kirk's death.
Now here's the part that really stings. At the very same time, two young men, Mississippi college student Trey Reed and a homeless man named Corey Zuccotti, were found hanging from trees, lynched. Their deaths raised chilling questions. Yet the media stayed almost silent. Police brushed it off quickly, claiming there was no foul play. But let's be real. This is Mississippi, a state with a bloody history of lynching, and today's political climate makes those claims far too convenient.
What the 60s must have been like for anybody. What was it, 8 or 9 assassinations? What does that do to a generation? Having lived through that and having known those people, this is me. I imagine I'd still be angry.
Chappelle's point hits hard. America has always run on double standards. Certain lives spark nationwide outrage while others are swept under the rug. Look at what's happening right now. Kirk's death has dominated the news cycle. Celebrities and politicians won't stop talking about it. Social media is flooded, and regular folks are even losing their jobs for saying they don't care about him. Meanwhile, the two men found dead in Mississippi barely made a ripple in the headlines. That's exactly what Chappelle is pressing. Why are people being punished, even fired, for refusing to mourn the death of a man who openly carried racist views? The hypocrisy is glaring.
The Civil Rights Act of 1964 as a huge mistake.
Correct.
Two black men are found hanging from trees, and instead of outrage, their deaths are brushed aside like background noise. That's not just neglect, that feels intentional. Police call it no foul play, while the nation's cameras stay locked on Charlie Kirk as if he were some kind of fallen king. The contrast is chilling, and it tells you all you need to know about which lives are valued in America.
They were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed. They committed less crimes.
They were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad. It was evil. But what happened? Something changed. They committed fewer crimes. If you're tired of the gaslighting, being told that Kirk's death is the only tragedy worth caring about, stick with me. In this video, we're diving into how Mississippi is quietly sliding back into old violent patterns and why the mainstream media doesn't want you to connect the dots. Many people are saying the same thing. Yes, Charlie's death is tragic because any human life lost is tragic. But let's not sugarcoat it. America is scrubbing his image clean in real time, turning a man who openly pushed white supremacist views into some kind of national hero. That's not mourning. That's rewriting history.
Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Play cut 50.
Look at the moves being made already. Trump personally ordered U.S. flags to fly at half-staff for Kirk. Then, just 24 hours after his death, Congresswoman Nancy Mace jumped on X to announce she's filing a resolution to let Charlie Kirk lie in honor at the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. Her post read Charlie Kirk devoted his life to defending freedoms, inspiring millions, leading souls to Christ, and standing firm for the First Amendment. Such a legacy makes him uniquely worthy of this distinction. That's the official spin. But pause for a second. Authorities say the body of 21-year-old Damar Travian Trey Reed was found hanging from a tree by a faculty member near the campus pickleball courts. Word spread quickly throughout the Cleveland campus, leaving students and locals alarmed and deeply concerned.
Authorities say the body of 21-year-old Damar Travian Trey Reed was found hanged from a tree by a faculty member near the pickleball courts. Word spread quickly throughout the Cleveland campus, leaving students and others concerned and worried.
Well, because I am a black student, hearing that happened to another black student, it really made me feel, it makes me feel unsafe.
I do have to walk to class, and I like to go walk on the track, and it would be happy to know like what happened.
Local and state investigators immediately started looking into the incident. DSU Police Chief Michael Peeler says investigators found no evidence.
Local and state investigators immediately began looking into the incident. DSU Police Chief Michael Peeler said investigators found no evidence of foul play. This is beyond ridiculous. Lying in honor at the Capitol isn't some casual tribute. It's one of the highest ceremonies this country can bestow on a private citizen. Only a handful of people have ever received it, remembered for extraordinary service or sacrifice to the nation. One of those names is Rosa Parks, a woman who risked her life for civil rights and changed history forever. And now Republicans want to put Charlie Kirk in the same category? The audacity is staggering. This is a man who spent his career tearing down marginalized communities, pushing white supremacist talking points, and dismissing the civil rights movement as a mistake. Yet they want to immortalize him under the same dome where Rosa Parks rests in honor. This isn't just spin, it's national gaslighting on full display. They're asking the public to accept that a man who built his career on hate speech deserves to be remembered alongside true heroes who literally risked their lives for justice. Members of Reed's family, meanwhile, are demanding a thorough investigation.
Members of Reed's family are insisting on a thorough investigation.
Please, 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 please do your research on this. Do not let them sweep nothing else under the rug. Enough is enough.
And just when you think it couldn't get more outrageous, the pageantry goes into overdrive. Charlie Kirk's casket wasn't simply sent home quietly. It was flown from Utah to Arizona on Air Force 2, personally escorted by J.D. Vance. If that weren't bizarre enough, a military honor guard was ordered to carry his casket as if he were a decorated war hero. That move ignited a firestorm of outrage, especially among veterans who called it a disgrace. One furious user on X wrote, "Black soldiers must have looked at that task with nausea." This is the same man who once said he wouldn't want a black pilot flying his plane. That's just one example of the hateful rhetoric Kirk was known for. Another user blasted, "It's a shame the Air Force Honor Guard is carrying Charlie Kirk's casket. The Pentagon owes us answers." And they're not wrong. Kirk never served a single day in uniform. He mocked veterans, spread division, and thrived on tearing people apart. This isn't honoring sacrifice. This is pure political theater, draped in military uniforms and staged as a tribute, an insult to every fallen soldier who actually earned that respect.
Billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right. I would say this, we're not voting for the right people. In North Carolina,
let's not forget we're talking about a man who openly claimed black people were better off before the Civil Rights Act, and even said black women lack the brain power to succeed without affirmative action. Yet while the country stages a giant mourning parade for Charlie Kirk, black folks just trying to live their lives are suddenly being dragged into it. They're being blamed, scapegoated, even punished for supposedly celebrating his assassination. One Texas student was expelled after someone secretly recorded her cracking a private joke about Kirk. Imagine that, expelled over a joke. And she's not alone. People are losing jobs and getting harassed online simply for refusing to shed tears for a man who said, flat out, that civil rights were a mistake. This isn't mourning. This is pressure. It's control. The state-sponsored grief has turned into a loyalty test. If you don't cry on cue, you're painted as the problem. Meanwhile, while America's cameras stay locked on Kirk's funeral spectacle, real tragedies are being ignored. In the same week, 2 men were found hanging from trees in Mississippi under circumstances far too suspicious to dismiss. One of them, 21-year-old DeMar Trevon Trey Reed, was a black college student at Delta State University. The other, 36-year-old Corey Zuccotti, was a homeless white man from Vicksburg. Authorities wasted no time closing Trey's case, declaring no foul play almost immediately, far too fast for his family, who are demanding an independent autopsy because the official story has holes you could drive a truck through. Corey Zuccotti's death is just as chilling, just as suspicious. Same method, same week, same haunting timing, yet the details remain locked down. According to reports, police found his body hanging in a wooded area near the Ameristar Casino. The coroner confirmed the discovery at about 10:30 a.m. on Monday, September 15th. Then, silence. No deeper report, no explanation, no answers. Here's the kicker. Corey was found only hours before Trey Reed's body was discovered, right as Kirk's supporters were shouting about a new civil war. 2 hangings in Mississippi within hours of each other, and we're supposed to chalk that up to coincidence, maybe. Maybe not. That's for you to decide. But one thing is undeniable. The mainstream media is drowning us in wall-to-wall coverage of Charlie Kirk while barely whispering about the suspicious deaths of these 2 men. It gets darker. Corey was white, yes, but also homeless. That matters because just days earlier, Fox News host Brian Kilmeade went on national television and openly suggested that homeless people should be executed with lethal injection. He didn't whisper it. He didn't backtrack. He said it plain as day. Now connect the dots. Kilmeade makes that outrageous statement, and 2 days later, Corey Zuccotti is found dead, hanging from a tree. When Kilmeade says we should get rid of the homeless, he's talking about everyday Americans, veterans, trauma survivors, people living on the edge. Instead of housing or healthcare, he's calling for state-sanctioned executions, and the same voices demanding compassion for Charlie Kirk want you fired, silenced, or dragged online for daring to crack a joke about him. That double standard is exactly what Dave Chappelle has been calling out. He compared it to the aftermath of the Capitol riots, when insurrectionists got leniency while Colin Kaepernick lost his career simply for taking a knee. The scales of justice in America aren't just tilted, they're rigged. On one side, the country is busy turning Charlie Kirk into a martyr. On the other, 2 men are found hanging from trees in Mississippi, and it barely scratches the national radar. When people say the system is broken, they're wrong. The system is doing exactly what it was built to do. This is psychological warfare, and the cameras point only where power wants them to point. Don't let the media, politicians, or influencers gaslight you into thinking you're crazy for noticing. You're not. Wake up and speak up. Why is Charlie Kirk's death treated like a national emergency, while Trey Reed and Corey Zuccotti are erased before their stories are even told? Why is grief mandatory for a man who said civil rights were a mistake, but invisible when black and poor folks are clearly in danger? These double standards are loud. In 2025, what does that say about where this country is headed? Drop your thoughts below, because this conversation needs to happen now. And don't expect to hear it on News Nation, CNN, or Fox. Subscribe, share, and keep the conversation alive.